here you can see the attire of what the worker would have worn, pretty much, and then there's the little gap. The carriages were carrying more people than what they were supposed to. So electrification was a way of being able to run more trains more efficiently. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and on today's video I've got one video for all you train lovers. I'm here at the East Anglian Railway Museum having a look at some historic railway memorabilia. So currently, where am I? So I'm currently on the Essex and Suffolk border in a place called Chappel and Wakes Colne, which is just outside of a railway station between Marks Tey and Sudbury on the Greater Anglian network. So this place behind me has got a huge historic timeline of things like locomotives and the history of steam engines. So I'm going to go inside today and have a look and take you guys with me. Guys, as you can see, you've got the sign there for the current station, and then it says welcome to the East Anglian Railway Museum. So we're going to go inside there, pay our entry fee, and go inside and have a look. So guys, behind me was the original station booking hall. And in there in a second, we're going to go in and see exactly what it looked like back in Victorian era. So historically, before obviously there was digital stuff where you can buy tickets online, it was all manned by someone, like a man or woman basically, pretty much. So in there you're going to see exactly how it was in the 1800s, and you're going to see the exact machines that they used, and also a map of British Rail back in the Victorian era when it was starting to boom, especially here in the east of England. So let's go inside now and have a look. So here you can see the attire of what the worker would have worn, pretty much, and then there's the little gap, so the customer would have been there to basically obviously buy tickets, pretty much. Here you can see the exact machine that was used as well, and then you got some old books there as well also. So you can pretty much see it's pretty much unchanged from that period of time. Something else that's quite interesting as well is you can see here a map of the Great Eastern Railway. So back in the Victorian era, railways were privately owned, pretty much. So here you can see a map of the east of England, pretty much, as to where we are. So as you can see, this is we are right here. Don't know if you can see it there. Chappel and Wakes Colne, and you can see here you've got London, and then you've got Essex, Suffolk and Norfolk, and then further up north as well. So this whole part of the country was all run by the Great Eastern Railway. Here you can, as well, you can see obviously a telephone, pretty much. You have to turn it like that as well. And then you've got some luggage and other things also. So as you can see, guys, this is a station booking office, and it's in its near original condition. And this booking clerk is seen working in this 1891 building selling tickets, basically. So at that time, the railway was only easily available transport for villagers travelling further than a horse and cart could manage, pretty much. So motor transport was very rare before the First World War. In fact, when the station was built, the locomotives on the Highways Act 1896 limited speed to 14 miles per hour. The railway station would have been one of the four most important points in a village. The others would be a church, school and shop. At the station early in the morning, newspapers were delivered, parcels and packages were dispatched and received by passenger trains. Farmers and merchants would also use the goods shed for transport of larger loads. This included farm animals, given employment of a goods clerk and horseman and horse lad. Other railway employees, including porters, signalmen and number takers, in all at one time. 12 people worked here, including the station master, who had his office next door. So guys, as you can see, the kiosk behind me was originally in Harrow in northwest London. So in 1992, this was brought here and pretty much restored and refurbished pretty much, and it's now here obviously at the station. But pretty much this would have been the station building, but this isn't the original station building. The actual original station building fell into disrepair, and the one that we have today is the one that's in use. So here you've got a machine where you can buy platform tickets, pretty much. Obviously it's not in use, but you can see here, look, empty, insert 3 2p coins. Tickets don't cost that little anymore, but you can see that. And then here you've got a bookstore basically, pretty much. So as you can see, in 1992 it became known that an old kiosk of the same type that used to be at Chappel was available for restoration. It was at North Harrow on the old Grand Central and Metropolitan Joint Line, and was to be demolished as part of a new scheme to redevelop their booking hall. So yeah, it came from North Harrow, pretty much in London, and as you can see, the restoration started here in 1995. They put routing around the lower half of the structure that had to be cut out and replaced, and there was rust on the steel hinges of the tambour shutters as well. It was used for 58 years of service, and it was preserved pretty much over that period of time. So guys, I'm here in the waiting room, and the cool thing is they've kept memorabilia from the Victorian era in this waiting room basically. So there's some really, really cool things in here that I want you to see. Also as well, you get an idea essentially of how important the railway was, especially to transport people, but also as a place during both the First and Second World Wars. So I want to show you some cool things in this waiting room. So here you can see some old classic attire. These are like suits, and you've got this hat here as well. I call this the Winston Churchill style hat, pretty much. You've got obviously luggage as well, so pretty much what they would have carried. You've got obviously more stuff there, and then you've also got as well the bench there as well, and the door that would have taken them out to the platform, pretty much. And you've got a desk where they could have sat down and done some work or whatever, pretty much. You've got a fireplace, and then just some more, some more photos. You've got a painting of the Victorian era steam train, and yet again you've got a map of the East of England. So you've got Liverpool Street Station there in London, and then it will take you all the way out pretty much past Chelmsford, Witham, towards Colchester, and you've got where we are now, so we're here pretty much, and there was a line to Sudbury. Also as well, you've got a poster about the Harwich to Hook of Holland service. Now, if you watch my Harwich videos, I did speak about this in the past. They don't use obviously those ships anymore. They use something called a Stainer line or Stainer liner. But the Harwich to Hook of Holland service has been going on now for quite a while, so you got a bit of information there pretty much about it. So here you can see a timeline of Chappel and Wakes Colne Station. So as you can see, 1847 to 1849, the Chappel Viaduct was built, paving the way for the new railway line. 1849, the line from Marks Tey to Sudbury opened. 1865, the line from Sudbury to Cambridge opened. That's now closed. 1890, the present station building and goods shed were built. 1914, it was renamed to Chappel and Wakes Colne. Second World War obviously happened. There was a petroleum, oil and lubricants depot built next to the station. The station was to have been used as a crash evacuation station if the situation arose. 1963, Dr. Beecham's report, The Reshaping of British Railways, was published and marked the branch line for closure. 1967, the line from Sudbury to Cambridge closed, as I mentioned. And 1970, the Stour Valley Preservation Society, previous name of the East Anglian Railway Museum, moved onto the site. So as you can see, the locomotives could reach speeds of 50 to 60 miles an hour. Now that don't seem a lot in comparison to now, where we've got trains that do 125 miles an hour, but you can see how revolutionary it was at that time. And as you can see, the first Queen Victoria, her first journey by railway was the 13th of June 1842. As you can see, you've got a mixture of the current trains, the brand new Greater Anglian ones, and then you've got obviously the older trains basically. So you can see the mixture of old and new, how they run side by side. But these trains here are on the Marks Tey to Sudbury line, and I think these run every hour or so, or half an hour, I'm not too sure. But you get an idea of how they've kept the old nostalgic station, but have used obviously the same services at the station as well. So guys, behind me is an example of a Victorian era train carriage as to what travel would have been like during that time. Obviously now trains are a lot more fancier, but in there you're going to see a bit of history about what it was like to travel on trains during that era and what was available during each train service. So guys, as you can see, in 1874, the Great Eastern Railway opened its London terminus at Liverpool Street. It became the busiest station in Britain as passengers poured in from the increasingly crowded suburbs of northeast London. Ironically as well, today Liverpool Street is also the most busiest railway station in the whole country as well, by the way. But many of the commuters came in on cheap tickets. So here you can see pretty much the development of houses back in that era, in areas like Leighton and East Ham, pretty much. And as you can see as well, these are some of the commuters that came in from those suburbs to work in Liverpool Street. So you can see there how busy already that Liverpool Street was becoming. Here you can see as well, pretty much, the concourse of the current station. You can see that there. And then you've got obviously people there working on the railways. Coming to and from obviously work. Here you can see Liverpool Street Station being built. So you can see here the Great Eastern Railway site of the new city station on Broad Street, pretty much. You can see there, obviously, the construction. And yeah, just a rough idea of how the increase in building of houses helped to push the popularities of the railways, because more people had to get from point A to point B. So here you can see you've got obviously a table with a couple of seats. You've got luggage boxes. I'm guessing folks put their luggage in there, or that's their luggage, I'm guessing. And you've got obviously the windows and so on also as well. So you get an idea, and then at the end you've got a bench here as well. So as you can see here, this coach was originally one of 6 compartments for third class passengers, and it was in use until 1935. So you get pretty much an idea of the history of it. You can see that this coach was once part of a building composed of 2 former coaches. This was located at Homersfield near Bungay in Suffolk, basically. So that's what it was originally part of. And then you can see what it was like to get restored. So that's what it looked like before it was restored to what it is now. Here you can see a day at the seaside. So you can see the railways made the coastal towns boom. So before we had low budget airlines and stuff, the coastal towns of the UK were where people went in the summer. And the railways brought people from the cities down to the coast. So you can see here places like Southend-on-Sea, pretty much. You've got Clacton, Felixstowe, Harwich, you name it. And here you can see an example of the kind of ticket, basically. So you can see here, for Southend-on-Sea, returning from Southend on certain times, and you can see first class, second class, and third class as well, basically. You also as well, this ticket is for like some kind of event, wedding and birthdays, pretty much. Did they have wedding and birthday parties on trains? I'm not too sure, but you can see there, Theatre of Varieties and Skating Rink, Southend-on-Sea. And then you can see here, pretty much, War Widows waiting for a train in 1920. You've got Great Yarmouth in Norfolk as well. You've got the pier in Harwich also. So that's what Harwich Pier used to look like when obviously it was a very busy town for obviously tourists and stuff. And then you've got families here enjoying a day out pretty much, due to the railway. Here you've got a section about eating on the train. So as you can see, before restaurant cars were added to trains, passengers could only buy meals from the refreshment rooms, which are provided at some stations. They could also get food from hawkers who sold goods to passing trains from station platforms. Waiting for passengers to get refreshment caused delays, and people complain about having to drink hot drinks too quickly. As you can see, dining cars made trains more reliable and comfortable. They were first developed by Pullman Company in the late 1870s. And you can see a rough idea of a refreshment menu for a train. So you can see the stations that they're at. So Brightlingsea, which is no longer around the station. You've got Felixstowe, Ipswich, Liverpool Street, Colchester, Stratford, Walton-on-Naze. And then you can see here as well, obviously the breakfast available by class, and then you've got here some chefs that are cooking the food. And then this is exactly what it would have looked like, the tables on the carriages where they served, obviously, the food. So guys, you get an idea of how train travel has evolved over a period of weeks, months, days, years, decades, and obviously the last couple of centuries. So you kind of get to know how we've got to train travel as we have it today. You have to remember as well, guys, that first class back then was for the rich and the elite. It wasn't like what it is now where you can just go and buy one. It was for the rich and the elites. But you can see how much the British economy boomed because of rail travel. Also as well, guys, something called camping coaches was also introduced, which is like a cheap holiday. So pretty much coaches like these ones that I'm in now would have been used to pretty much be placed at coastal towns in which you could actually sit down and actually kind of live in. So you've got like a family here having like dinner as well. And you can see another one, they're having dinner outside, obviously the coach or carriage, basically. And you get an idea of what it would have obviously looked like. So you can see by 1959, British Railways had over 100 sites to offer accommodation. Today, the tradition continues, but with many more modern conveniences. So here you get an idea pretty much of what it would have been like. Obviously it's empty now, but you would have had a table right here in the middle, and then you'd have had a family of maybe 4 or 5 people, pretty much. And then this talks about Operation Pied Piper. So at the beginning of the Second World War, it was feared that Germany may attack British coastal towns and centres of industries. Operation Pied Piper was a plan to evacuate children from these areas to keep them safe. So from 1st September 1939, it started, and then in total over 1 million children, pregnant women, and other vulnerable people to the countryside were evacuated on special trains. And then here you've got a photo of the evacuation. So you've got here evacuees arriving this is at Maidenhead Station in Berkshire in 1940, pretty much, in which I'm guessing these people were obviously evacuated from the coast further inland. This would have been typical of what was in an evacuee suitcase. So you've got obviously a teddy bear, a ration book, because rationing was obviously very important, pretty much. And yeah, you get an idea there also. Behind me you've got the Railway Clearinghouse Office, and this essentially is where you had the railway clearing officer, where he was sitting there and he would make note of every single train and carriage that came in and out of the goods yard, basically. So essentially you could imagine that when it was busy, there would be multiple trains coming in and out. So his job was to make sure that he noted the company and what it was for. So we're going to go in now and have a look and see exactly what kind of cool things they've got in there. So here you've got some examples of wagon labels, basically, from the museum's collection. So a wagon label would have been attached to the outside of the wagon, telling railway staff where the wagon came from, where it was going and what it was carrying. So for example, this one would have been carrying perishable goods, pretty much. This one would have been carrying grain, which was common here in East Anglia. This one was carrying general goods. This one was for the Colne Railway, Shropshire and Montgomeryshire Railway, Victoria Brickworks, yet again Colne Valley Railway, Coalite Group, Shell Max Limited, London, Brighton and South Coast Railway, and Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. So you can see the wide variety of companies that sent wagons to this goods yard. Here you can see the view that he would have had. So you can see the view from out here, where you can see there you've got the level crossing pretty much on the platform, so he would have looked out there. And then here you can see examples of tickets that would have been used. So behind me you've got a couple of examples of wagons that would have carried coal. So during the 19th century, the coal industry here in Britain was booming. Up and down the country, the coal industry provided multiple jobs for people on the railways, in the stations, and also in and around the network and so on. So you can see an example here of wagons that would have carried it. And also as well, there's a little plaque here that shows a bit of information more about the coal industry that I want to show you right now. So as you can see, by the 19th century, coal mining was one of the biggest industries here in Great Britain. Collieries in Wales, Scotland and the north of England produced more coal than France, Belgium and the German states. Coal was used to fuel steam engines for trains and ships, and to produce gas and for electric generation. So you can see here some coal workers there basically. You can see here some wagons carrying coal. And as you can see, coal was transported on railways that took it from the mines directly to the towns and villages, such as stations like this one. Here you've got some more wagons as well. As you can see, no longer in use, but you get an idea of how busy it was here basically. So you can see here this was like some kind of crane, pretty much. So guys, I've come into the exhibition hall, which pretty much gives a run through of the railway industry in this area. I've got, as you can see, a train behind me actually. Some cool stuff, so I want to show you guys some cool things in here. Let's go. So guys, on this side you've got here signs, right? So these are all signs from the British Rail era basically. So this is from when it was British Rail. So you've got the red and blue stripes, so that means British Rail. So you've got Marks Tey there. You've got where we are now, Chappel and Wakes Colne. And then obviously you've got one here that says Clacton Depot, Network South East. So Network South East was the regional area for this part of the UK for for British Rail basically, pretty much. So here you've got a train that's obviously no longer in use from the networks, from the British Rail era. So as you can see, you've got there the cab where the driver would sit there basically. And as you walk down, you can see the train itself. So this train ran the West Anglia route. So that's like going up towards Stansted, Cambridge area. You can see the train here. Then as you step into the carriage, the train is still in good condition. They've kept it in good condition, but you can see what a more modern train obviously looks like, pretty much in comparison to the old one. So you can walk through here, and that takes you, oh, you can't get in the cab, but yeah, you can pretty much see what it obviously looks like. So here you can see this would have been a 4-car train. So this is the full layout of the train. So you'd have the driving car pretty much at one end, then you'd have the motor car, the power car and the trailer car. So this would have been part of a 4-car unit. I think during peak hours it would have been coupled up to be an 8-car unit, but this is an electric multiple unit. So EMUs are the most common trains now that you find on the national network here in the UK. So here you can see what this train would have looked like in service. You can see there the train, then obviously the electrification. And as you walk down, you can just see the carriage. You can see all the seats, pretty much. So this is a British Rail Class 317. It's a Class 317. So as you can see, this bit talks about COVID-19. So as you can see, it talks about the challenges for the transport industry during the pandemic, pretty much. So as you can see, this train would have been equipped with safety stickers, like sit 2 meters apart. It would have been telling people to wear masks, and so on and so forth. So as you walk through the train carriage, you can just see exactly what it would have looked like. So this is where you put your luggage as well. And yeah, as you walk through the train, you can just see, then right here up top, you've got a security camera. So essentially, this is being monitored by the train company for obviously antisocial behaviour and other things as well. So guys, as you can see, the electrification of the British Railways was looked at from the start of the 1930s, but there was little money due to the Great Depression following the Wall Street crash in the USA. In 1939, there was an agreement signed to start the electrification works from Liverpool Street to Shenfield, but World War II put it to a stop. The works restarted in 1949, and as you can see, as time went on, more and more of the railway went from being steam powered to being electric powered. So behind me is a steam locomotive built in 1924 and was pulled out of service in 1962, I think it was. So this would have been what would have been running out of Liverpool Street and other mainline stations before the trains that we have today. So as you can see on this end there, you've got the steam locomotive there, and then you've got the carriages that would have been obviously going all the way down. But this particular one here would have ran between Liverpool Street and I think Enfield in North London. But these would have been what you would have seen up and down the railways, up probably till about 1970-ish, pretty much. Yes, it was built at Stratford Locomotive Works and entered service on the 19th of March 1924. It was the last one to be built at Stratford, pretty much, and withdrawn from service in 1962 after 38 years, replaced by electric trains basically. And it ran the service out of Liverpool Street to Chingford and Enfield, known as the Jazz service, but then was replaced by electric trains. So here you've got the carriage, as you can see. How many people do you think would have been able to fit in here, guys? Let me know. You've got the carriages, and as you go down there, same thing again also. Another carriage as well. So this here would have been called a chapel coach, pretty much, and this was built in 1873 for £256, £25,000 in 2024 based on inflation, and this was withdrawn from service in 1902 and sold for £8, which would have been £820 in 2024, pretty much. And as you can see, it's been here in this museum since 1988. So this here is called a cattle van. So as the name suggests, this was used to carry animals. So obviously there's a horse here. I thought it was real when I first saw it. But as you can see, these were used to transport horses. Could have been dogs, could have been goats, you name it. It would have been used to transport cattle, etc. As you can see, it was mainly for cattle and horses, but it also transported large animals like zebras. The people looking after the animals on their journey were looked after well. They had comfy seating, lighting, heating and blinds on the windows. They even had a primitive toilet, a hole under their seat basically. So you can see what this would have been looked like whilst it was in use, and it was built in 1952. So yeah guys, as I walk down you get an idea of pretty much the history of the railway, the carriages here as well, as you can see. And it goes all the way down basically, pretty much. Absolutely phenomenal. So this here would have been a luggage carriage. So anytime there was large amounts of luggage on a train, they would put it into a carriage or coach like this. So you can see all the luggage there. All in here would have been full up with luggage, so you've got more there. And obviously you can see pretty much the front. So as you can see, all in here would have been full up with luggage. So during the Second World War, up to 153 trains a day, special trains a day, were carrying troops or also equipment to help the UK win the war. So this talks a bit about the invasion, pretty much. So the east coast of England was under threat in 1940, and as you can see, the railway was used to actually transport the armed forces pretty much to and from wherever they were going, basically, pretty much. So you can see where we are now. Chappel was actually a key point with the plan to demolish the viaduct. This would both deny the use of the railway to the invader, but also block a main road inland from the coast. So pretty much the plan was to actually destroy certain railway stations as well. So here you can see as well, you've got signs being taken down or knocked down, which made it harder for enemy combatants to know exactly where they were or where they were going. And then you've got here a bit about the line behind the lines, just some posters and advertisements, from railway companies talking about the war. You've got here Junction X. So here you've got a bit about pretty much just the railway companies putting out posters. So for example, talking about how the railway is making an impact during the war, pretty much. As you can see, some advertisements. You've got here about something called Junction X, pretty much. I'm guessing these are places that connected other towns with each other. I'm guessing, so you can see it here, pretty much. And then, as normal, You can see how the railways made their own preparations, pretty much, and how staff were told to pretty much give out instructions in a war emergency. You've got a map of the UK railway system there, and then as you go around, you've got about the evacuation and other stuff as well. You've got a bit about Little America. So Little America is when US forces were based in Europe, pretty much, also. And there's some other cool stuff as well, such as trains that carried army tanks. So you can see here, you've got a train carrying an army tank. Look how powerful that is, pretty much. You can imagine the strength of that train, basically. And yeah, guys, same thing. Just walking down this end, as you can see, but you get an idea of roughly how long a train could have been. So remember I told you guys previously in the London Doctors video that the fire brigade, before they had trucks, they essentially had like carts and stuff where they would pull. So this here is an example of what the Great Eastern Railway fire brigade would have had, pretty much, to put out fires on trains. They would have used this. Pretty much, they would have hooked it on to something like a vehicle, maybe, I don't know, and they would have used this to put out fires. So behind me, you've got a pump trolley, and a pump trolley was exactly what was used to essentially help to detect issues with the railway, with the actual maintenance and stuff. So what was it? So essentially, one or two people, workmen, would pump the actual trolley, and it would move up and down the railway to actually detect any issues. Before one of these was actually created, they would have had to spend hours and hours walking up and down to check the railway. So this saved a lot of time in regards to fixing issues. So as you can see, you'd have had two people, one this side, and they would have pumped it, and essentially it would have been able to detect any problems in regards to things like the tracks, the ballast, things like that, basically. So this would have saved a lot of time rather than having to walk miles and miles and miles up and down the tracks. So this here is called a Barlow rail. So in 1849, William Barlow patented a new type of rail known as Barlow rail. So it was designed to be laid directly on the ballast without sleepers. This led to serious derailment risks as the rails could move. Tie bars were introduced to hold the rails in place, basically. And here you've got a pantograph. These are what you see today on the railway, and this is what essentially is used to give the train electricity to actually run. So as you can see, this one here is from the late 1990s, pretty much, and it has a voltage of around 25,000 volts. So you can see an example there, pretty much. This one comes from Brecknell Willis, pretty much. And as you can see, here in East Anglia, all main lines are electrified, pretty much. But the pantograph here has to keep good contact at all times. The contact wire moves relative to the train sideways at each support point to ensure the wire does not wear a groove in the head. So yeah, guys, let me know, what do you think of this place? I think it's brilliant, guys. I think this place is phenomenal. It's a lot better than what I envisioned. I never go to places with high expectations, to be honest, but this place has really outdone me in terms of what I expected. So here you've got a London North Eastern second class open coach from 1936. Obviously it's no longer in use. As you can see, it's built in 1936 to a design by Sir Nigel Gresley, pretty much, and that's what it looked like whilst it was in service. It was withdrawn in 1961 from normal service, and in 1975 it was commandeered for use in a civil defence control train. So here you've got a rough idea of what railway mania looked like in the 1800s. As you can see, you've got here obviously the railways there, you've got passenger trains, and you've also got trains that carry freight. Then you would have had the housing here as well, pretty much. And obviously you've got a level crossing there as well, also. And as I walk down, you get an idea of just what it looked like, basically, pretty much. You've got the railway bridge there also. And it just looks so cool, really cool, as it goes all the way down as well. So as you can see, you would have had manufacturers next to the railway. So you can see a timber merchants there, right here in the pink one, and then you've got a coal place, Halstead Coal and Coke, and then you can see the wagons being loaded. Then as you walk down, you can see obviously the railway and how pretty much it was all connected. And same thing here on this side also. You've got a station called Limeswold, and then you can see in the background you've got the hills, and obviously you've got a train being loaded with coal as well. So massive industry, as I mentioned before. And then as you can see how bridges were built over the railways, and so on and so forth. So guys, I'm standing in the maintenance yard, and this is where all of the heritage trains get maintained and upgraded and looked after, basically. Now in here, they're working on a few different pieces of machinery at one time, but there's some things in here that I want to show you, which I think is really cool. The staff in here are amazing, they're very friendly, and let's have a look around and see what there is. So this here is a 040 saddle tank, and it was built in 1905 by Andrew Barclay and Sons of Kilmarnock in Scotland, and it came to this museum in 1973. Now these here were used at a variety of quarry sites, including Irchester Quarry, Desborough Quarry, and Storefield Ironhouse Quarry as well. The approximate weight is 25 tons and the length is about 23 feet. This here is an 87-ton crane, basically, as you can see up there. Now this here, if I'm not mistaken, someone please remind me in the comments if I'm wrong, this would have been used to haul stuff off of wagons, is that correct? I'm not too sure, someone let me know. But you can see this is where the driver sat, he sat in there, and you get an idea roughly of pretty much how big and heavy it is. So as you can see how high up and close we are to them. This here, I was told, used to transport, I think, sugar, basically. So this is what would have been used to transport things like sugar and stuff from different sites. So guys, yeah, the staff in here are phenomenal. A lot of them are actually volunteers. So there's a couple that work here permanently, but the others are volunteers. And they're absolutely fantastic, guys. Honestly, really good. So if you ever get a chance to come down. I paid, I think, £21 for my ticket, for an adult ticket. But kids' tickets are cheaper as well. So if you've got kids and stuff, please come on down. So guys, the last task of the day, I'm gonna go and ride on this train and get an authentic experience of what it would have been like to ride on a train during the Victorian era. My train is here, it's gonna leave soon. Let's go and enjoy. You can see the inside, the cabin there, in there. And I'm gonna sit right in here. Guys, you see the mirror there? And look out and enjoy the view. So here we are in first class, and as you can see the seats are a lot more cushy. They've got this cool little headrest, basically, pretty much. So yeah, not much difference, but just it says there, you can't see it, but it says first right there. And yeah, that is it guys for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Please let me know what you thought. I've got some cool videos as normal, but as usual, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you on the next video.